And I noticed that a lot of agents didn't really even understand the process of new construction. So because we're borrowing money and we need to sell them as soon as possible, let's start selling them before they even constructed. Sounds like a good idea, right? So that's typically how developers are going through their sales process. So they would start selling these before you can even see the models, because they started constructing these at the same time. In the beginning, we're selling a dream. Here, you're selling the reality, like it's already there. So real quick, just wanted to get the level around the room. Who here has ever been at the new construction? Touring new homes, seeing models. All right, so about like a smaller half of us. Who here wants to sell new construction? Who wants to get paid for selling new construction? All right, looks like most of us. So we're going to be covering this topic of new construction from A to Z. By the end of this training, I'm confident that you guys are all going to be new construction specialists. So you're going to be ready to go and explore options. You're going to know exactly what to ask at the development offices, how to negotiate, and when is the best time to buy new construction, either for yourself or for your clients. So does everybody have a workbook? Yeah. All right. So 3 facts about me. I got into 18 new home transactions my first year in real estate. My fastest GCI, the gross commission income, was close to 30K in 2 hours selling new construction. And I signed 3 contracts for new construction homes within 1 week being licensed. A little less known fact, 2 out of 3 got canceled. And on that note, I actually looked right before training, and as I was preparing last night at my first year, I had a spreadsheet where I would put all the transactions. And I realized that I actually got into 26 contracts, and 8 of them got canceled. Right? So, and I realized that for the past several years, I was always saying that I got into 18 contracts. My brain erased the part, the canceled ones, as it never existed. And it kind of caused me to realize that there is no success without losing. You win some, you lose some. So just wanted to throw it out there, guys. You will be having canceled transactions. And it's very likely that the more transactions you have canceled, the more you have that are not, right? You're still going to have the emphasis on the ones that are successful. So my first year, and all of these 18 homes, they were all new construction. So to tell you a little story as to how I got into that, I wanted to find a niche. I wanted to do something different that most other agents do. And I was interviewing other agents asking if they're working with new construction. Most of them said no. They didn't really want to bother. And I noticed that a lot of agents didn't really even understand the process of new construction. A lot of them thought that they're not getting paid by the developer. A lot of them thought they need specific certification in order to be selling that. Some of them thought that selling new construction is harder than resale. Well, I realized that it actually was the opposite. That it's easier to sell new construction than resale. You do less paperwork, you do less negotiation, because you're not dealing with the seller, you're dealing with the salesperson. And there is no emotion in it, right? A seller has emotion as to how they're going to sell the house, but developers don't. They just need them sold. So it's easier to negotiate with them in a way. So heavily concentrated on new construction served well for me. That being said, disclaimer, I feel like today, like this year, 2022, is not the same as it was back when I was starting in 2015. To be fair to you guys, I feel like it was easier, and with all honesty, if I would start this year, I probably wouldn't be able to get as many transactions. It was more lucrative at that time. But that being said, I do think that the market is cyclical, and I feel like I already, in the past 6 years, saw 2 cycles. So I do feel that eventually we're going to be cycling back into the same market that was back in 2015-16, and that's where a majority of the materials you will learn today is going to be useful. Sounds good? All right, so I also want to make sure that everybody has pens. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to be making notes in these workbooks today. As we go, I'm going to be telling you exactly what things to fill in. And the one page, the one before the last one, is for additional notes if you want to put something in there. So what we will cover today, we will explain what the new construction is. We'll compare production and custom home builders. We'll talk about how to negotiate with developers, how to identify the best deal in the community for your clients or for yourself, and when is the best time to buy new construction. We'll talk about market cycles, pros and cons of new construction, and selling techniques. As you see, quite a bit of stuff we're going to cover today. As always, we're going to have a break in the middle. So let's get started. So right off the bat, and this should be an easy question. Who can tell me what is a new construction?
Brand new. Nobody lived there.
Nobody lived there. Very simple. So if somebody asks right away, like, what's the difference between new construction or resale? The very first thing is that nobody lived there, right? So the buyer is going to be the first person to live. And there are mainly two ways as to how that can happen. So let's explore the two. What are the two ways you can think for the new construction, for somebody to live in new construction?
Either brand spanking new or fully remodeled.
So fully remodeled still is not new construction. It's newer, right? If you break it to the studs or demolish it, then it can be considered new construction. If it's just remodeled, it's still going to show public records of the year it was initially built in. So almost, but not exactly. There are two main ways. Any other thoughts?
You mean how to get in on new construction?
Yeah, how does one become an owner of new construction? With whom?
No, if you have potential clients, you can go and show the models. It's usually models already
Right.
built in.
Where?
In the same community.
So who has been building the models? You're almost there. Builders.
Yeah.
So you can buy it from the builder, developer, right? That's
yeah.
one way. And do write that down through a developer. What is another way? Is there another way? What about if I don't want to deal with a developer? I see.
Build it yourself.
Build it yourself. So write this down. You can buy land, hire contractors, architect, and a builder. So once again, one option is you can buy it through a developer, or you can buy land, hire contractors, architect, and a builder. So different ways of doing the new construction have different pros and cons. So right off the bat, I will tell you that you will have a lot of buyers that are dreamers. A lot of buyers that see land listed somewhere for $50,000 or $60,000, and they think, why would I buy a house for $1 million if I can buy this land for $60K and build a house there? By show of hands, did anybody get clients like that already? All right, some of you. So there's going to be clients asking specifically for that, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with wanting to buy a cheap land and build a house on it. I would do that. The problem with that thing is its lack of education, lack of understanding of the process. So a lot of these cheap lands that you see for 50, 60K, they're not buildable. There is a different zoning that doesn't allow to build a single family home, or there's no road. So it may be a big land, maybe a couple of acres even. And you would think, why is it going for 100K, let's say? The problem is it may not have utilities, it may not have access to the road. For any new construction, there must be enough road for the fire truck to get to the house and turn around and drive back. And I've been in that situation where I had buyers explore it, and I wasted a lot of hours. Wasted in a way because I didn't get a result, but I got experience. So we explored that in the land that was going for 100K, they estimate to just build the road. I'm not talking about construction. Just to build the road, $500K, $500,000. That puts things in perspective, right? Now you paid $600K, all you have is a land and a road. Yay, you still need to build a house there, which is going to take another, I don't know, $500,000, depending on how big the house is going to be. So not as lucrative now, is it? So once we realized that, we started educating clients, first of all, on the purchase of land, because another common myth is that they can get financing on it. And not just get financing, but they can go to Bank of America, Wells Fargo, conventional lender, get pre-approval, and buy that land with that pre-approval. Doesn't work like that, you guys. You need specific financing to buy land. You need specific financing to build a house for construction loan. So it's not regular mortgage. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into. So on the next page, you will see more about custom home builders. So it's really easy to figure out what custom home builders are doing, deriving from the name. They're building custom homes. So that's where you will hire architect. They will draw a plan for you. You're going to get permits. If you're hiring a developer that builds custom homes, you're likely going to pay a little bit more, but do a little bit less. Still, you're going to be involved in the process. If you don't pay too much and you want to do majority of the project yourself, there's going to be a lot of work involved in it. You will have to deal with the city. You'll have to pick options. You have to pick the materials that's going to be there, design options. You can commission somebody to draw different plans and choose among those which house exactly you want to build. But you get a lot of freedom. So for someone with a lot of cash, that's an amazing option, right? If somebody has anywhere between $1 to $2 million, they can design their homes just like in a video game, exactly the way they want it. Get the land and build a house. Now, the difference between custom home builders and developers, so just like Hope said that you can go and buy for development, they're typically building similar floor plans. So a community may have 100 units, and they may have 4 different floor plans for these 100 units. So you buy something pre-selected, chances are the upgrade's already pre-selected, but the major difference between the two is how the financing works. Because here you don't need a construction loan, you don't need to buy the land, because they sell it as a package. They sell it together, the house and the land, and for that reason you can get standard mortgage. Right? So that's why majority of your clients, if they say new construction, chances are they're talking about the second option, not the first one. You still need to ask all these questions when it comes to custom home building, right? And really find out, are they talking about buying land and building a home, or are they asking you whether you know developments where they can buy a property based on the available plan? So let me just take a look at notes. I think we pretty much covered that. And they typically differentiate into two groups, the developers. They either orient on first-time home buyers. Think builders like KB Home, Lennar. They're very common with first-time home buyers. Pulte Homes is another one. And there are those that go for luxury buyers. Think Toll Brothers, for example. And we're going to have a list of different builders so you have that handy. And we'll talk a little bit more about it. But do we understand the difference between custom homes and developers that are selling the production builders? They're selling the ready homes. Okay. So to move on, did anyone ever face a construction loan? Any experience with construction loans? Not to worry. Let's brainstorm then. Are they going at the same rate, for example? So the going rate right now is around 4%. Would you be getting a land or, let's say, construction loan also around 4%? 5? Who thinks 4?
Probably higher.
Higher? 5?
Yeah, higher.
Maybe like 6, 7.
6? 7? Who says 6? Who says 7? 8, anyone? Right now, typically 8 or more. So around the double. We're building a project in Oakland, and we pay 8.5 for that construction loan.
Is it common?
Yes, it's going to be higher because it's a short-term loan, right? They need to make money. They typically give it for a year or so.
For
And-
everybody, even for the individual who's doing
It depends.
land?
So which one?
Like if somebody is buying a land and is planning to build a house, if
Yeah, so
lender,
so that's what we do. We bought the land and we're building on it, and our loan is 8.5. In some cases, it might reach 10. Some people may not be able to get the loan, and they may get a hard money loan.
What's the term on the loan? Is it also?
The term, so the way it works, for example, you need $1 million. First things first, you're not gonna just tell the lender that you need $1 million and they just finance it.
You have to show it.
You need to show a lot of stuff. That here is me applying for permits. This is the design of the house. This is what it's gonna look like. This is the schedule. So in January, this is what we're gonna do. In February, this is what we're gonna do, and so on and so on. So you need to show a lot of stuff, and you need to show that you understand what you're doing, and hopefully you need to show that you've done it before in order to get financing. A lot of the lenders will be asking you for portfolio. Show us that you've done this before so we feel confident lending you money. So in the beginning of my real estate career, that seemed like a closed loop to me. So in order to get financing, you need to have portfolio. But in order to have portfolio, you need to get financing. So that means that you really need to have cash to create portfolio to then finance on the portfolio that you have. And that's the biggest reason why most buyers don't understand the full scope of it. And I call them dreamers, because they're dreaming on how it's going to be, but it's not as easy to pull off. And once they find out all of these details, they usually get discouraged, right? And it makes sense because it's not easy to do. So high interest, for the land, you typically need cash as well. There rarely you can finance the land. I think Yulia did one.
Yeah, everyone was surprised.
And it wasn't easy, was it?
No,
They
was
asked for
easy.
additional documents, and like
Not really. I think it's just it took a little bit
longer time.
Yeah.
What was the cost of the land?
560.
560.
Vladimir?
Yeah.
Hard money loans? Can
Yes.
you finance land with hard money loans as well?
I mean, with hard money you can do anything.
Okay.
But does everyone know what the hard money loan is?
No, please explain what I just asked.
Just raise your hand and ask. I'm happy to answer any questions as we go. So hard money means it's very similar to cash. It's you might supply less documents, right? You may avoid some of the documents that you would traditionally do with another lender. And hard money lender is typically a private lender. That's why they may close eyes on lack of some documents. But what's the catch?
A higher rate.
Much higher rate. Much higher. 2 to 3 times higher rate. Some people, and I've had buyers that would even buy new construction with hard money. They would borrow it, they would have like a 10% interest rate, and they would flip. They would buy new construction, and they would sell that later on. Which is actually one of the reasons I was able to get that many transactions, because I was working with investors that kind of leveraged that at the time. They would borrow money, they would buy the house, they would flip it and sell it. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that works. But traditional buyer, not investor, hard money loan might not be a good idea for them. It's going to cost them a lot. All right. So I think we covered pretty much everything about the financing. So let's start breaking down the developer selling and pricing strategy. A little bit of visual aid here. Jose, is it visible enough for you?
Yep.
Excellent. All right, so imagine all of us are on the board of directors. Yay. And we're all developers, and we're building a new project. We're going to build 100 homes. Isn't that exciting?
Yes.
This is going to be our map. So we just bought this brand new piece of land. And let's make, I don't know, a park in the middle. I'm not really good at drawing, so please live with it. And we're going to build a bunch of townhomes, right? Why townhomes?
You can get more.
We're going to make more money.
Yes.
All right. And let's say they have like, I don't know, 3 in one building. And they're surrounding. Okay. These are likely to be at the premium. Why?
In front of the farm.
They're right in front of the park. Exactly. All right. So now we have our plan. All right. So what do? Do we start building them all at the same time? Do we start building them one by one?
Well, if you want to sell earlier some, so you can finish and sell and keep building.
Yeah.
So you're getting money as you're building.
Exactly. Better yet, why don't we, do we want to spend our money? Probably not. Let's borrow money. Let's finance it, right? So if we finance it, we borrow money, probably doesn't make sense for us to build all of them at the same time because we're going to have to pay to the lender for all of the homes that we constructed in the same time. Not very smart, is it? So why don't we do this? Let's take these first three. Let's make them models. Let's start building them as model homes so people can go and see them furnished and how awesome they are. Let's also spend 100 to 200K in upgrades for each one so people that walk in, they just fall in love. Sounds good? And let's start building, let's put a star here. So let's start building these next. And that's going to be our second release. So this is going to be our first release. And this is going to be our second release. And let's release them one by one. So because we're borrowing money and we need to sell them as soon as possible, let's start selling them before they even constructed. Sounds like a good idea, right? So that's typically how developers are going through their sales process. So they would start selling these before you can even see the models because they started constructing these at the same time. So now, this is just early stage. We're probably just pouring foundation, just starting to raise the house from the ground up. And we're doing what we call pre-selling, right? So we're gonna start advertising. We're gonna put, you might see developments with fences, right? That have information, maybe a website, go register. So we're gonna start with building a list of people. We can call it interest list. We can put a fancier name and call it VIP list, right? To show that we're treating people as VIPs. We can call it priority list to tell them that we're gonna be selling homes in the order they call us or register or email us or get pre-approved with us. And our objective is to sell a few of these homes while they're being constructed through pre-sale. What do you think, how does it affect the pricing?
You get a lower price if it's not
Yeah.
built yet.
Because people cannot see it just yet, so they are buying just a picture. They see a floor plan, and they buy their house based on the floor plan. So chances are this first pre-sale release is going to be a lower priced one. Okay? And we're going to build this list, and we're also not going to be letting people buy it right away. Why? Because we want to build the demand. We want to be able to tell people that we have 50 people on the list, 100 people on the list, so they feel like everybody wants it, increases the chance of them wanting this as well. So far makes sense, right? And at the pre-sale, let's say we sold all of these. But we have, let's say, 70 people on the list. Still have a lot of houses. Why don't we bump up the price? We sold these 3, no problems. Right? And we're moving along. So I suggest let's increase the second release by 20K. Everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to make money, right? If we increase it by 20K, do the 70 people still want to buy it?
Maybe 50.
Maybe 69.
Maybe somebody's going to fall off, right? Somebody will decide that, oh, this is getting too expensive. Somebody might have bought a house already, another new construction or through the resale. So let's say it went down from 70 to 40. But hey, still good enough, right? And we're selling this one, sold. By this time, while we were selling these homes, the models are ready. So why don't we throw a grand opening? Why don't we throw a grand opening, invite a lot of people, maybe put like a coffee stand or put some food, invite a lot of people so they can all see the models and put their applications in. So, and we're going to be selling this one. And things are going so well, let's bump it up by another 20K. And if things keep going well, if the market there's a demand, let's keep on bumping it up by 20K every time. And what do you think is going to happen by the time we're going to be selling these? They're going to be a lot more expensive than we got started, right? So that's why I started noticing that if you come to the new development and you bring the first client and they buy something for $1 million, they're going to be selling for the next year, year and a half or so. But then at that time, the prices can be 1.2. And the best thing is that for the majority of the construction time, the person who bought right here, how much money did they put? Percentage-wise?
Maybe 2% or 3%?
3%. Because they are putting their EMD in, and they're waiting for the property to be constructed. Do they make any payments while the property is being constructed? No.
So what if these 70 people, all of them put 3%? Or it's not?
Tell me more. What do you mean?
You said these people who bought the first one,
Mm-hmm.
they just put 3% EMD.
Yeah.
What about another who was waiting? Can they put 3% just in case in advance as well?
If we get to them in order of priority. And there are different ways of selling these properties. Sometimes it's first come, first serve. Sometimes it's the order of priority. Sometimes it's a lottery. I don't like the lottery the most because you can be the first one registered and you can register, I don't know, 3 months ago and then somebody else came in yesterday and they picked their name. I don't think that's fair, but that's a way.
So you're saying they don't finance, the bank don't finance builders until they build actually?
So builders are getting their financing separately to build these.
Mm-hmm. I thought they use.
So they
buyer's
use
money.
somebody else, not buyer's money, because the 3% are where? Anyone?
Indeed.
Escrow.
Yes.
So they're in the escrow. The builder cannot use it.
Oh, so they cannot use.
No.
buyer's
Investors'
money.
money or whatever.
Yeah. So the 3% of all of the buyers, they're in escrow, and the builder is using investors' money or lenders' money to build these. And when they sell, they get money from the buyer, and they pay off the lender.
So what's the point to sell it one by one? So if they
Because
can-
if we construct all of them, and let's say we're not really doing a good job advertising, we're going to end up with a lot of built houses
Vacant.
and no buyers. And we're actually going to explain why it's a bad idea to have a house that is constructed already for the developer, right? Why it hurts them, right? But they want to build them one by one. And also, don't get me wrong, does it automatically always go by 20K? Not necessarily. It can be higher, it can be lower. If they feel like the demand is high, we've seen increases of 50K in the past because they have way too many people. Let's say it's not 70 or 40 anymore, it's 200. They know if they bump it up by 50K, the people will still buy. But guess what also happens psychologically to buyers? I'm going to get in a second. What happens to them psychologically? Imagine you are in this list and you see the first release, the second one, the third one. Now we're in the fourth one. The prices went up by 80K. What happens to you psychologically?
You feel bad. You
If
get a bad
again
deal.
go up in next release, so book now.
Yeah, you want to buy now. So if they call you and they tell you you're the next person on the list, do you want to buy or no? Yeah, I want to buy because you're already expecting the prices they're going to be keep on going up. So that increases the desire. Some people will fall off, but some people will get more motivated because of this. They're feeling they're missing out by not buying here. Did you have a question, Kapinder?
No, I just now builders are not bumping the prices. They are asking for offers.
Yeah. So we're going to cover that. So this is a traditional method. Get the list, do the releases, keep on increasing the prices. Okay. When I worked with investors, that was my niche. I would find buyers, either first-time home buyers or mostly investors that first year, and I would tell them that my job is to find a development that I can get you in right here, and you will sell right here. And that was the model. We would buy the first one, and then as soon as the developer would sell all of them, we would list ours right at the end, because the demand is still there, right? If they still have a list of people, eventually they run out of houses, but people still want it. And then somebody loses hope, like, oh, they sold all of them, but then boom, a new listing comes on market. And all of those people that were on the list, they will come to that one. So we had crazy ROI. The investors that I worked with, based on what they invested, because they put their 3%, and they would just put the other 97, and they would end up selling the property. Paying taxes, all of that taxes would eat a lot of it because they're not holding the property for a long period of time to either do 1031 exchange or really anything, right? So they would pay taxes, but still would make decent money. That's the case where hard money loan makes sense because you make a quick flip.
Sure.
So do you mean they buy at the initial stage and then they sell it right before?
Right at the end.
The end?
Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
They basically selling right here
Right here?
because the demand keeps going. And guess what happens? If you are, I'm going to get to you in a second, Jose. If you are here at the early stage, what do you see?
Construction.
You see a bunch of dirt. There's nothing there. There's no park. The park is in the picture. It's not here. Just bunch of dirt, construction guys walking around, bunch of trucks, noisy, dusty. You don't want to live there, right? And you don't even see the model. And buyers would say it's crazy to buy a house without seeing it first, right? But then we see that those who don't think it's crazy and they buy, they make a lot of money, because at this time, when you're selling after the development is completed, people don't see trucks, they don't see construction, they don't see a pile of dirt. They come and see brand new development. They see families walking around. They see a park, and it's a brand new park, so people are flooding there, walking with kids and dogs, and completely different, right? So if in the beginning we're selling a dream, here you're selling a reality, like it's already there. So, Jose.
So, does it ever go wrong? Like, do you have investors buy like the first couple, and then the new construction gets messed up, and they end up with?
Yes.
And also,
Great question, by the way.
why not just like if you're super stacked on money, why not just put EMD in everything?
That's another great question. I love it. So to address the first one, do all of them have crazy ROI? No, not all of them. We've seen cases where developers would overprice, and it would actually start somewhere in the middle. They would keep on increasing, and people would stop buying, and they overdid it. So the next bad thing that happens, they start decreasing, so that people would come back and start buying. But once you see the developer cutting prices, it's not looking really well. They're trying to find what's wrong with it. So we've had few cases where people would buy and would sell either at the price they bought, and they didn't really break even because they would pay agent commissions and closing costs. So they would suffer a small loss. So I think that pretty much addresses. Not all 100% of them are going to be like this. So it's not like get rich quick scheme. If that makes sense. What was the second one?
Why not just put EMD in everything?
A lot of the developers don't like investors for that reason, to avoid speculations. So they're likely to limit what you can buy. There's a master development in Lathrop, 11, I believe, 11 or 12 new construction sites, right? 12. All 12 of them say no investors. Yeah.
Any way to like sneak in there?
I cannot teach you to sneak in. I can tell you that I've seen some people say that they are buying this for themselves, when in reality they are buying and renting it out. Bad people, they do that stuff, yeah. But anyway.
But it is a high risk. Whenever you invest, it is a risk. In
Of course.
development, it starts and how it doesn't always ends well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes builder have problem. You may not able to complete the houses also.
A quick story time.
Permits are there and everything.
While we're on this topic, what you asked about the EMD, right? EMD, and we discovered who holds it. What do you guys think? If the seller, ladies, do you have questions?
I'm sorry? Not now.
All right. So for the developer, do you think it's normal if they ask you to put the EMD that you put in escrow into their account?
No.
Why not? It's very uncommon. It's a big red flag. Lana, does it ring a bell?
For using EMG for other purposes?
Yeah.
It is a scam.
Yep.
Can they legally ask you?
They can ask
They
you.
can ask you, yeah, but it's very, Silicon Sage did it,
Mhm.
and they.
Anyone heard about Silicon Sage Company? Few people? Yeah. What have you guys heard?
Scam.
Yeah. So some of the developments that I sold back in 2015 and 16, they were with Silicon Sage, some of my best deals. And I could not figure out why they're pricing homes so low. It's almost as if they wanted to get rid of them. And I remember there was a condo in Santa Clara that my client purchased for, I believe, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think in 600s. Year later, sold it for 900s after being like 1 week on the market. So they listed very low. And Lana got in a transaction with her clients in one of the developments in Silicon Sage.
Still pending.
For how many years?
3
Oh,
years.
wow.
3 years? Pending for 3 years. You're going for the record. We don't have another pending transaction like that. So we got in the contract. It was delayed for 6 months, a year.
You mean to finish building?
Yeah,
Oh.
to finish building.
So they took money and never finished.
And eventually they say, they didn't really say anything. They just sent the document to sign, right? They sent a document to sign. The document pretty much said that I, such and such, allowed to transfer my EMD from escrow to seller's account.
Ah,
Lana, as being diligent agent, is going to me as a broker and asking, what is this? And I say, this is the first time I see that. Really awkward. And I said, don't sign it. I don't think there's any benefit for the buyer to sign it. So we pretty much, we either ignored it or, yeah, so we ignored it, we didn't sign it. 6 months to a year later, there's news article that Silicon Sage is a scammer.